Okay, I think we're ready whenever you're ready. It looks like Sherry, Ralph. Oh, Chris isn't here yet.
I don't have Chris, nor do I have Carol, though I can see.
Oh yeah, Carol as well.
So we'll have to wait a minute.
Okay.
There's Chris. Okay. I'm going to give Carol a call. So I'm going to turn off my mic and give her a call. Okay, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Just getting the council members connected. So this is the Hideout Town Council regular meeting of December 8th, 2022. This meeting is an entire electronic meeting. There is no anchor site for this location. I'm going to take roll. Chris Byer,
Here.
Carol Hazelton,
Here.
Sherry Jacobs,
Here.
Ralph Severini.
I'm here.
Thank you. Bob Nadelberg is flying tonight. He's excused. So I'm going to give a brief update on Golden Eagle. Tim may jump in as well. We will not take public input on Golden Eagle tonight. I'm sorry, but we won't. Our position hasn't changed. The infrastructure needs to be completed to the state standard before we can allow building permits to go. There is certainly great progress. Tim can talk about that, but it's still not there. Most of you are aware that there is a court case, on Golden Eagle in the permitting process that Hideout presented its closing arguments on last Friday, I believe, as did the development team. That judge has taken all that under consideration. I believe she's ruling, help me out, Polly, January?
Sorry, January 13th.
January 13th. If the work gets done prior to her ruling, we will, of course, start issuing permits. But to date, the full water system has not been turned over, completed and turned over to the town. Tim, you want to jump in with the other progress elements?
Yeah, they're continuing to move forward with their roads. Things look good. They're moving at their pace. I did get an email. It sounds like they are requesting Rocky Mountain Power to come and put in the final touches for the pump station, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but they are ready for Rocky Mountain Power to come out and do that final installation. So they're moving forward, and like Mayor said, we're welcoming them to continue their progress and to the point where we could issue permits.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments from staff or Polly on the Golden Eagle subdivision?
No, I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you. So again, looks like good progress. They're close to having the power hooked up, it sounds like. As soon as Rocky Mountain Power gets in there and the Department of Drinking Water comes in and blesses it, we can hopefully, and we get some testing done on the water, then I think we'll be pretty close, but we'll see. All right, that's it for Golden Eagle. We're opening for public input on items not on the agenda, and please note Golden Eagle was on the agenda, so it would be non-Golden Eagle topics, as well as other items that are not on the agenda for tonight. Well, John and Damien, I see your hands up, but you're Golden Eagle, so. And I just said, we're not taking comments on Golden Eagle. Our town's position has not changed. And when it's complete, we'll move forward. Ralph, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one comment about, and I'm not sure if it's specific to the town or not, but it's about our recycling. And I've seen a number of what I would call concerns from a few people that have voiced that. I think even today they had a sick driver, broken trucks. We missed pickups. So I'm not actually sure. So maybe you can enlighten me, Mayor. Did we as a town, didn't we approve, Cyclops recycling?
Yeah, we did.
As-
We did, get a review from them as well as the county. And, uh, they started off quite strong, including the creation and addition they brought out all the yellow barrels and all that. But the contract is individual with homeowners. It's not with the town.
Okay, so when we go through a review, is there an annual review, so to speak, or?
Well, again, we don't have the contract with them.
I know it's individuals.
So we
but-
could, if there's, Ralph, I mean, if it would be a non-municipal thing, but
Yeah.
we could show interest certainly by giving them a call. And see what they're doing to try and do a better job for us.
Yeah, because it affects all of us, even though it's not a town
Okay.
kind of thing. I'll be glad to talk to you offline on that. I don't want
Yeah, all right. Well,
to,
I'm making a note. We can,
just, be glad to follow up with you and see if there's something we can do. to
yeah, I have a
help,
contact for them. At least, I don't know if he's still there, but I have a contact for him. We can reach out and let him know that there's some lack of, their service is slipped and we need to pick up on that.
Sounds good.
Mayor, I just want to add, I put in a support ticket tonight when they didn't come, and I know they didn't come 2 weeks ago either, even though they alerted me through a text that they would come on Thanksgiving, which was a surprise, but of course they didn't come. So it's been like a couple of missed pickups, and then I got a notice today that they're going to add a surcharge in December into early January for excess recycling. So clearly I already have excess recycling because I have 2 missed pickups. So yeah, I'm not upset about the charge because I understand it, but I want some reassurances from them that they're, they're going to start picking up my recycling. It's, so I am reaching out to them myself. So Ralph, and, I'll let you know if I hear anything.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and I think a couple of people have reached out directly, but, maybe, is there something that we could talk to them as a group? Anyway.
I'm just assuming they're having staffing problems and maybe equipment problems, but, I'm rooting for them is all I have to say. I like that service. I'm rooting for them,
Yeah.
and I hope they can do better.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all want it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so Damien, I'm gonna unmute, but again, I ask you not to bring up Golden Eagle items.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I just wanted to kind of share some information that I found out today with my Soaring Hawk neighbors that the Hideout Local District number 1 monthly meeting is actually going to be at 10 o'clock on Monday, December 12th. And I believe it is a virtual meeting. So that might be a meeting that would be very interesting to those neighbors that have to do with the Hideout Local District number 1. And I'll be there to hopefully learn as much as possible too. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. And John Blamer.
Hey, Mayor Phil. I did have an email from Polly today that I could speak in the public forum, and that Golden can be restricted. Obviously, I want to talk about Golden Eagle. in particular, I want to basically talk about one thing that I know that you have evidence about, and it's the fact that the water has been tested by Stefan Mickel. It is safe to drink. The sewer is being serviced. Is being serviced by. Let me finish my comment, please. Is being serviced by Hideout Local District Number 1, and I just don't understand why the water meter for my home is not being given. It's not
Let's set
clear.
up a separate call with you, Mr. Blamer, and take you through it one more time.
When is that call going to be?
When are you
Mr.
available?
Blamer, you're represented by council, so if you want to set something up with your council, we can set something up and have Mr. Dixon and myself. We can set a time up. I'll shoot an email right now.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm looking for other hands. And I don't see them, so we'll move on. Close public input. Thank you all very much. And move to the agenda items. Item 1, the creation of a CRA. Jan, you got that? I don't.
I texted Randy Larson, and can we move on to the next item?
Yep,
Okay, thanks.
we can come back. If there is the sheriff's office on, are you aware?
I reached out to them and I haven't heard anything back, but he said that he was going to be on tonight, but he's not. I don't see anybody unless the phone number is him.
Yeah, it might be Josh on his phone. Josh, are you, because I talked to him about something earlier today, so I don't know if he's on. Josh Probst.
All right, on the phone is Cy Hutt with Intermountain Healthcare.
Oh,
okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't see anybody from the sheriff's office then.
All right, well, then we'll skip that for now and come back.
Mayor, just a question on that. When is our current renewal due?
January 1st. And we can discuss the contract because we have that, and I can talk about item 3, but the sheriff's office was going to talk about their time and what they've learned from in the kind of things that are going on in Hideout for the council's edification, but hopefully they'll be on shortly. So I'll jump to number 3. Katie, I see Katie's on, so you can jump in and help me here, Katie. So the sheriff's office contract runs January 1 to December 31st, even though our fiscal year runs June to June, as do in all the municipalities around in the state. But and we've forecasted for this year an amount based on the contract that's coming up to ending. Obviously, as we all know, there have been cost increases in inflation that we're seeing, plus normal adjustments for people. So the cost of the new contract is up slightly. I think, Katie, you can help me confirm this, but I think it's about $6,000 annually.
Yeah, so they went up about 7% from last year. And so we will be a little bit short because our run rates from last year didn't include the month of July because they were paid in prior years. So we'll be short a couple $1,000 for this year, but it will run about 76,000, 77,000 for this year. And it was about 70,000 last year.
Okay, thank you. The fact that it will be off in budget, but as far as the financial means to cover it. I think we have that, right, Katie?
That's correct. I had to forecast we'd be off about the 6,000, but given the fact the contract doesn't go into play until January, it'll probably be a little bit less than that. So we have other areas that we can cover that from run rate differential and other accounts.
And then the other part is that the second half of it is in the 2023-24 budget. So
Exactly.
from a council perspective, we'll be okay with it. So I just want to give you that background. So financially, we can do it, without significant risk to budget. The sheriff's office has been working in the report deck, in the deck here. There's a ton of background, including, they've been very thorough in sending us all the details, how they spend their time, where it is, and so forth, including the GPS log. So there's no doubt that they were in the area. Not that we would doubt them, but so it's there, guys. If it doesn't require, the funding difference doesn't require council approval. It's more of, are you, as a council, happy to continue working with the Wasatch County Sheriff Office?
This is Chris. I'm happy to continue because, what's the alternative? And they've been quite present. A lot of times, you can see them on the highway. They're definitely, by their presence, they're making people remember to go speed limit, right? And, I did look at the call log, and they had quite a variety of calls in our municipality. So, I think it's an important service.
I do as well, Chris, and I'm grateful for the fact that they're spending the time with us. I think it makes our entire community safer. One of the things I've asked them to do is also share with us, from their learnings, what things the town can do if there are things that the town can do to, improve the public safety. For example, lighting, cameras, whatever they've learned. Clearing shrubbery, if they're, whatever. And so I've asked them to help us take the learnings from their calls and see if there's things that we could do better as a township. So
was that supposed to be part of tonight's, guest appearance by?
Yeah, I don't know if they'd have all the recommendations tonight, but I think they'd have, some thoughts around the kind of things they're seeing.
You think you can try to get them engaged sometime after the new year to come out and
well, they
do something?
We've asked them, and they've committed to contractually quarterly updates. So,
Yeah, I kind of looked at the data as well. So to your 2 points, I thought, the contract price and everything seems fair given as much work as they do. It'd be nice to get a summary of where the problem, to your point, Phil, it's like, can we get a summary of the problem areas? What can we do? Because there was a lot of I felt like I was in old screen mode where there were, it was just one line item and after another. But it'd be nice to get a bit of a summary. Do we have problem areas? And in their view, what could we do to, fix those or improve those areas?
And hopefully we'll get some of that tonight if they're able to join again. I mean, they are a public safety service, and if they have calls, I certainly understand that they may not be able to be here, or they may just be coming on later because they didn't want to be for the first part of the meeting. So let's jump ahead to if the council's okay, we'll jump ahead to the IHC presentation, and then we can come back, and if either of the first two items have connected. So IHC. Who's Cy or
Thank you.
Lori?
I think Lori's gonna start us out here. Thank you.
Well, let me get Lori connected. There she goes.
Sorry, I wasn't able to get unmuted.
I got you. You're cute. You're
Thank you
good now.
so much. All right, are you? Okay, you've got the presentation up there. Thank
If
you.
it's okay
Well,
with you,
first of
I'll
all,
just tell me and I'll flip it for you.
sounds great. Hey, thank you all for letting Cy and I join you tonight. We wanted to get back out in front of you and let you know what great services that we have here on the Wasatch Back between the two hospitals, Park City Hospital and Heber Valley Hospital. We're letting you know that we're trying to get out from under the COVID fog and that we do offer other things and have services available besides COVID. So we want to just give a quick update on that. If you go to the next slide. So our mission is helping people live the healthiest lives possible. Next slide. And just a few stats on Park City Hospital. We deliver about 339 babies. These are last year's stats, about 5,000 surgeries and over 11,000 emergency room visits. This number is up significantly this year. We're seeing about a 30% increase in our ER volume this year with everybody that recreates in the area, those that have moved into town or those that had second homes and decided to stay in our area. We've seen a lot of volume coming from those residents that have chosen to be here. Next slide.
And at Heber, we had about 205 babies born last year and a little over 1,100 surgeries and about 6,000 ER visits. And really, just as Lori said, we're anticipating that this year we'll have about 1,000 more emergency room visits than we did last year. So seeing a lot of growth as our communities grow. Next slide. Intermountain Healthcare and both hospitals are a not-for-profit organization. So one of the things that we do because of that designation is report out to each of the counties, both Summit County and Wasatch County, on an annual basis, information that is prescribed by the state legislature to demonstrate why we're able to be a not-for-profit. And basically the gift to the community, and again, that's a formula that's actually prescribed by the legislature, needs to be more than what we would have paid if we were paying taxes as a for-profit entity. And you can see there in the middle, that total gift to the community, the $46 million is the total amount based on that formula. Actually, if you look at that first one, the charity care of $3.75 million, that in and of itself actually is higher than what we would have paid had we been paying taxes. We do look up front if people, are concerned about their ability to pay their bill and work with them up front to determine that charity care. Sometimes bad debt gets in some hospitals kind of gets mixed in, and charity care includes amounts that people tried to collect but were not able to. But the way we do it at Intermountain, the charity care is all determined up front. That last piece there, capital improvements, that's at both hospitals. We added about $3.8 million of improvements at the hospitals. That's both in facilities as well as equipment. Next slide. Some of the other areas of that community benefit, I won't go into these in detail, but community services that we provide and education that we provide to the community at no cost. And then we work really closely with several not-for-profits, and I'll go through some of those in just a second. We work closely with them in providing health care, but we also support several of them and their missions. So we donated a little over $500,000 to other local not-for-profits to help them with their mission that aligns with the hospitals. We also participate in health professionals education. So as people are finishing up their education and ready to become nurses or physicians or respiratory therapists, they often do clinical rotations at our hospitals and work side by side with our healthcare professionals. So, and then we do have a lot of volunteers at our hospital as well as in the community. The next slide just shows some of those different organizations that we work with, and it's really across the board. Some of those that are more specifically related to healthcare, like the People's Health Clinic, or those that are working on social issues, such as the Peace House, that definitely impact healthcare. We work closely with the school districts, both of the counties, and again, several of those prominent and really important not-for-profit entities in our community. Next slide. One other piece of being a not-for-profit hospital is having a community board that has members from the community that oversee our quality, as well as provide input to strategy and the things we should be doing. Historically, each hospital has had its own community board, but this September, we actually combined that into one community board. There is so much growth that's happening between the communities that we really felt it was time to bring the boards together, make sure we represent the entire community and all of the communities on the Wasatch Back, but that are working hand in hand as we figure out how to best meet the health needs of those communities. So you can see Lynn Blyle there is our chairperson. She lives just down the road from Hideout. And then Claire Provost has been in the Heber City community for a number of years, and he is our vice chair. There's representatives from administration on both hospitals and the medical staff at both hospitals, and then evenly split community members who previously served on the boards of each hospital. And then as we rotate new people on to replace members who are rotating off, we'll be looking to make sure that we've got representation from the whole Wasatch Back. Next slide.
I'll just go through some services that we have at both hospitals. And one thing I wanted to note when Cy was talking about our community non-for-profits that we share or we support, I would like input from you all if there's something we're missing in your area that we could help support and partner on. And so please keep us in mind and feel free to interrupt us at any time if you have questions or would like to make some suggestions to us, because we want to make sure that we're supporting you in your area as well. From services perspective, we both hospitals have surgical services. We are community hospitals that offer the staple community services such as general surgery, urology, OBGYN, intensive care, and so those types of things. We've got inpatient services at both facilities, and like I mentioned, Park City Hospital has an ICU. Labor and delivery services at both places. Emergency services are offered at both places, imaging, lab, and physical therapy. You'll go to the next slide. Some of our other services offered, we have respiratory therapists 24/7 at both hospitals. We offer wound care. We do sleep studies at both facilities. We do IV infusion therapy at both facilities. Currently, we are doing chemo infusions at Heber Valley Hospital, and we will start doing those at Park City Hospital here in January. We both have sports medicine physicians and have athletic trainers in all of the high schools across the Wasatch Back. We do cardiology testing. We also have the Heart Institute at both hospitals seeing our cardiac patients. And oncology, we both will have services for oncology. As I mentioned, Heber is offering chemo. Park City will start offering chemo in January, and then we will also be looking at bringing on an oncology service on the Wasatch Back. So we're excited about the growth there. Next slide. Both hospitals have emergency departments that are staffed with the same emergency physicians. All emergency physicians are board certified. We are trained in stroke, cardiac, sepsis, We both do trauma services. We're a trauma level 4. And what that means to the community is we are advanced trauma life support certified. So we are able to do life-saving measures at both facilities and then get patients to a higher level of care as quickly as possible in order to save lives. So both facilities are able to do that. We offer behavioral health services, crisis care, it's telecrisis when we have someone come in with behavioral health needs, and we get them transferred to an inpatient facility if needed or direct them to outpatient support. We also see pediatric patients at both facilities as well. Next slide. Some of this hospital-specific services, I'll talk about Park City. As I mentioned, we've got an ICU, we've got imaging services, live well services for as we look ahead into the future of preventing illness and keeping people out of the hospital. We are expanding our live well center and our sports medicine center to really help people live their healthiest lives possible and meet their health goals. We launched Concierge Health during the pandemic, and this is 24/7 access to a physician service that patients can, it's a subscription model. You pay a monthly fee to have 24/7 access to a physician and navigation services on the Wasatch Back. So that's been a popular service here in our community. Next slide, please. Some of the initiatives that we're working on this year, we are looking to expand our first floor with our emergency imaging and lab. We are landlocked in that area, and so we'll be starting to figure out how we expand and increase our capacity there. We will be adding cardiac and pulmonary rehab once our new sports performance center opens in the second quarter of next year. We also have concussion and neurology services here. We just launched a Parkinson's rehab program this year as well, where we treat Parkinson's patients and try to help them control and manage their disease. We will be opening our Park City Surgery Center in January. We'll start to see patients there. A lot of our patients will shift from being seen and doing surgery here at the hospital to a lower cost setting across the street in our Park City Surgery Center. So we're really excited to be able to offer this to our patients on the Wasatch Back. Still same great orthopedic surgeons that we have employed now. It's a joint venture with the orthopedic partners. So we're excited to get that up and going. We also, as I mentioned, sports medicine, live well, and physical therapy, we're expanding. We'll also be bringing on robotics next year, where we will have a Da Vinci robot that our general surgeons, OBGYNs, and urologists will use to perform less invasive procedures on our patients. Next slide.
Some of the services that are provided specifically at Heber include eye surgery, primarily cataract surgery. As Lori already mentioned, chemotherapy, swing bed. Swing bed's kind of an interesting designation. We are a critical access hospital, and because of that, I guess the easiest way to explain this is if you're in the hospital and you need acute care services, insurance is only going to pay for that so long. And then at some point, you're really not ready to go home yet, but you still need skilled nursing services. Without a swing bed, you would need to be transferred out of the hospital to a skilled nursing facility like, for example, the Lodge over in Heber. What we're able to do with a swing bed is swing that from acute care to skilled nursing care and just leave the patient right in the same room if they're not quite ready to go home yet. So we take advantage of that sometimes. And then dialysis is also something that is provided to the full Wasatch Back there at Heber. Next slide. Some of the initiatives that we're working on include, we really just don't, we need more physicians in the community, and we don't have enough space for the specialists that we're bringing in. So right now we're focused on expanding the specialty clinic over in our south building. Design of that is just about completed. We anticipate putting that out for bid and hopefully starting construction the end of January or early February. We currently are replacing our MRI, and we'll have a new wide bore MRI that will be in place and operational the second week of January. We are adding an outpatient pharmacy consultation that'll probably be starting in the first quarter of next year. Like Lori mentioned, we're a little challenged space-wise in our lab as well. We've seen 53% growth in our lab in the last 4 years. And we recognize it can be challenging to get into a primary care provider. So we're actively recruiting additional primary care providers, have a new pediatrician who will be starting in January, and hope to have a new family practice physician and internal medicine physician coming on board this coming year. So that's a few of the things we're working on. And with that, do you have any questions or anything that we can answer?
Hi, this is Phil Rubin, the mayor. I just want to tell you that I was glad to see this. Thanks for putting this together. I mean, I've had the opportunity to partake of services from IHC. Nobody ever wants to go there, but I've been really pleased with the service and the attention and the care of the people, and you guys do a great job. And it's great to see the more technical, challenging things coming on as I become an older person. Some of those things become important to me. So once upon a time I was bulletproof, but I am no longer.
I can relate to that comment. Thank you.
Ditto, Mayor. I've certainly used, I think my whole family has used, my daughter and her husband and my grandson live close by as well. So we've all partaken. You're my regular health facility. So, by the way, what's the new building? I know you went through a lot of projects there. What's the new building in the Park City area? That's I see all the construction because either I use the clinic or I'll go over to the hospital. But what's the building in between?
That is the orthopedic surgery center that's going to open in January. So all of our outpatient under 24-hour stay surgeries will be done in that facility going forward.
Great, keep growing.
We haven't stopped since we built the hospital. So thank you for choosing us. And please let us know if there's things that we can do better for your area. We're happy to partner with you on those things. So just give us a call.
If you guys don't object, I think we'll, I mean, this gets in our meeting minutes, but I think we'll also republish your presentation as a separate link on our website so the community can have the opportunity to peruse it. It's good news for us. We're 5 minutes from instant care in town of Hideout, so that's great news to start with.
Right.
And it's great to see that you guys are growing the capabilities there. So, I'd rather be looked at quickly than be driving to Salt Lake. So
we agree, and thanks for choosing us. But yes, please, we would welcome you posting this out on your site.
any other comments from council for the IHC team?
No, and this is Chris. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I can remember not that long ago when we didn't have a hospital here. And now the hospital is just growing so rapidly, and the population here is growing so rapidly in Park City and in the Heber Valley. So again, thank you guys, and I hope you can, keep up with the growth.
We will try. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for making the time for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. to my knowledge, we haven't had doesn't look like we've had the police join yet, nor the CRA presentation. So we'll keep moving. So item 5 is informational only. It's way too early to be talking in any great detail about this, but I want to share with council that the town was approached by the developers of Benlock Ranch. Benlock Ranch is a property on the south end of the Jordanelle, sort of next to Victory Ranch on the across the River Road section there. There are some potential things that could be of interest to the town as far as helping advance our general plan. And we invited them in, and they spent some time at the Planning Commission on December 1st. There was a combined Planning Commission on December 1st, for those of you who don't know, because the Planning Commission meetings were too close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, so they set a separate date for that. And they presented their case. It's interesting enough that we're spending some time taking a look at it, but it's way too early to be thinking about doing much other than making you aware of it. And what I want to do is just show you where this is, and the fact is it's currently outside our annexation boundary. And Thomas was at the Planning Commission and spent a lot of time on this, so he can answer some questions. But again, it's pretty early to dig into detail, but I'm trying to show the one that, oh, here we go. No. So the yellow, this is the red section here is where Hideout is today. Yellow is what's in our annexation declaration area currently, although not inside Hideout, but just inside the ADA. And then this is what would change if we were to try and cross in to capture the Benlock Ranch property, which is in the blue section. And you'll notice that there's an overlap because it's also in the Heber annexation area as well. So this is not an easy thing to do. There will be lots of review, and as I say, there may be some things that help move our plan forward. And as we get into this, we'll come back. But this is not something you're going to see next month or anything like that. It's going to take us some work. So that's what we wanted to share with you, just to make you aware of it. And before we bring it to council, we want to make sure we understand what the positives and negatives are. And it will have gone through multiple reviews with the Planning Commission as well. But it may, if we decide that it's helping to advance our general plan, then we may come back to you and ask for your approval to look at changing the annexation declaration area.
Yeah,
Questions?
And Mayor, can I just add
Sure,
in,
Polly, go
so
Yeah.
the concept plan was looked at by just kind of also very high level by the Planning Commission. And I think that the point of having this on this meeting, as well as for the Planning Commission, was to just get a bit of a head nod, nothing more, But if the town is interested in expanding the declaration area, then that's something that we can do. But if there's no interest, we don't want to spend, the time or have the applicants, they're not really applicants at this point. Expanding the declaration area comes from us. So, so it's really just a sense of informing council and also making sure that that you support us starting the process. And if there are any major concerns about doing that, then let's get some input now before a lot of resources are spent on this.
Well, this is Chris. I'll just go ahead and nod my head and say that, from our experience, we do feel like we may need to continue to expand our annexation declaration area because, we're very limited. And this is into Wasatch County, which is a good thing, right? Because we're pretty well surrounded by Summit County, and we know that annexing in property that is in Summit County is extraordinarily difficult because Summit County has to be willing to do that. So, it's very interesting to me that this is in Wasatch County and that it, could be an expansion area. So I'm giving my head nod. Yes, that I'm definitely not opposed to looking at this.
Yes, I would like to comment as well. Full disclosure, my company actually represents Benlock Ranch. So I've been out there several times looking at the property. It's a really nice property. I think it would fit in well with Hideout. And I think it could give us some good opportunities. So I would be interested in hearing more as well.
Yeah, I know. I attended the planning commission session to listen to it the first time. And I think, Chris, you were on, and I believe Carol, you were on as well. So I know the three of us listened to at least that portion, which is interesting. I think we'd be foolish not to continue to at least have a dialogue here. So, and then two, I know the Economic Development Committee started to dig into some early finance, numbers, so to speak. What does it look like? So, but very, very high level. But in any case, certainly worthy to continue to have, a real good dialogue here and understand where the positives lie and where the negatives, like you were saying, Mayor. So, yeah, let's continue.
I would like to suggest that perhaps we do a site visit. I think those are always very helpful. So
I'm sure that can be arranged, Carol. I don't see that as a problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I've driven past a bunch of times. So, you can see a little bit from the road, but it would be nice to look at it. The one question, first thing that I thought of, and maybe Polly, you can help me understand this, considering where our current boundaries are for the city, and Benlock Ranch being, on the other side of the reservoir with Bureau of Reclamation land between us and, other private property, et cetera. How does that potential connection work out, given that we're separated by a body of water?
I might be able to help a little bit, Chris. This
Okay.
is Tom.
Thank you.
If there's some potential connections along some of the BOR lands, some of the state lands as well, kind of that skirt the Jordanelle on both sides. And so that's kind of what we're, going to start looking into. This is pretty early right now, but there are some pretty easy connections. So that's what we'll start doing, is maybe drawing up some of the lines and making sure that you guys are aware of that in Planning Commission as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering how that worked, since it's not obviously contiguous.
Right.
I don't know if that's even a requirement anymore, but it used to be.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
It is, but it does comply because the state land doesn't, is considered contiguous, so, or the,
Okay.
with the reservoir. Yeah, it meets the initial, I mean, we've reviewed it and it meets all the initial criteria to allow for expanding the annexation declaration area and to expand an annexation in that direction. So it does meet just the threshold requirements.
Okay, thanks. That's very helpful.
And Chris, I had the same question for Thomas, I think, on, was it Monday when we connected with our other little group? What that connectivity is. So I think to me, that's an important piece. Like, how do we connect? Do we have to drive all the way around? What are the options here? Because it doesn't feel like we would easily be connected, but if we can find some path, and that's certainly something that may further improve our evaluation here.
We're just thinking Public Works, they could buy a boat, give
Thank
Public
you,
Works
Chris.
building over to the other side. It would be the
Tim's
quickest
very
way
excited.
over.
I
It's
want
like
to vote.
it's like Ozarks. The
To
Ozarks.
go over the dam, or
Which
do
I'm
we have to
watching right
go
now.
under it?
Yeah.
I'm on board with a boat, Chris.
Thank
I'm
you.
ready
Yeah,
for a vote.
Dan
Yep.
likes to go fishing, so yeah, he'd be okay with
Yep,
that.
we're ready. We're ready.
We could
That
have
would
a
be a
taxi
misuse of public
service.
property, but that's okay, Dan.
We should have a taxi service around the whole lake.
Anyway. So again, it's early stages. There's a lot to think about. Those are some of the questions. What you mentioned, Chris, is also part of the opportunity as we think about how do we make this, our side of the Jordanelle, a potential destination for people to come and enjoy the recreational opportunities here, and how does the town benefit from those? So it's going to be interesting, but we have a lot of work to do. The teams have a lot of sleeve rolling to do to get to the bottom of it all, so that we're pretty seasoned now as a staff team and a council on all the joys of the annexation processes. So we've got pretty good ideas of what questions to ask and how do we make sure we're really doing the right thing. So we'll take our time and work through it.
Yep.
Sounds like, Polly, we got enough
Sounds great.
head
Yeah,
nods to keep moving.
We'll start moving forward, doing our due diligence research and again, mapping, et cetera, and we'll be bringing that back to you guys in time.
Okay.
Yep. The process is it goes to the annexation declaration area, goes to the planning commission first, and then they'll make a recommendation to you.
Okay. Thanks, Polly. I think we're going to jump back to item 1 because I think Randy's on. There's no more questions on item 5, then. And Randy, I don't know if you've got something to present or you're just going to talk.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. I can hear you guys well. I am so sorry for missing the first part. I'm afraid I'm a slave to my calendar, and for whatever reason, I didn't get this in there. So, Jan, thanks for chasing me down, and apologies for not being on when you expected me. So
No, it's my fault. I've been in grant mode and I failed to send a reminder. So thank you, Randy.
oh no, you were pretty clear. I just should have put it on my calendar. So, well, why don't I take a quick stab at the things, Jan, that you and I talked about, and then just make it available for questions. Would that be appropriate, Mayor?
Sure. So,
Okay.
So just a 2-minute background for the council.
Please.
One of the things that are the portions of our town inside of MIDA bring the town is income guaranteed by the MIDA authority. And so then the challenge is how do you use those funds, and what can you do with those funds and that guaranteed revenue stream? And that's what we're going to start thinking about here as Randy talks about this. In Randy, can you give just 2 minutes for the council so they know who you are and what role you're playing for the town?
Sure. My name's Randy Larson. I'm with the law firm of Gilmore and Bell. We are have a local office in Salt Lake City, about 20 employees, and we work solely on local government financings. So the role that I would play at your discretion is bond counsel to the city or to whatever entity we may elect to create that may make some sense. But for simplistic terms, it would be the city's bond counsel. So that's where my fiduciary duty would go, is to you, not to the bond investors, not to any property owner. That would be to the city. So want everyone to feel comfortable in that component. Would you like me to continue about potential bonding on the MIDA? Okay.
Let's just define what CRA is too. So
yeah. So the concept of a CRA, many of you might have heard CDRA or you might have heard RDA. The acronym is continually changing, but all of those are, and now it's called a CRA, Community Renewal Agency. The purpose of the CRA is to twofold. It's to create a mechanism to collect increase in property taxes from a particular area. It's not intended to be citywide, but for what we call a project area, you define as a city a project area, and then a CRA is the alter ego of the town. You as a city council would be the board of the CRA, and it would be a reporting entity to the extent it had assets or obligations. It would be a part of your audit, and you would, of course, maintain control over it. What a CRA does is an increase in property tax from development in a project area can be shared. It can be shared with the town. It can be shared with public improvements. It can be shared even to create vertical infrastructure should the town be convinced that that's a good policy or works with your economic development intentions. A CRA also has some ability to be more flexible in selling. You know, if you were to sell a city asset, you'd have to go through surplus rules and appraisals at certain times. For a CRA, if it's in the furtherance of economic development, the approval of the board is sufficient to sometimes sell things at a reduced cost to incentivize particular development activities or anything else that the city desires. So that also is a flexible tool for a city or town to have in its back pocket to encourage economic development. Maybe I stop there. Any questions about what a CRA is or isn't?
I mean, it sounds a lot like either a PID or a special district financing, which I guess also still exists in the state. So
yeah,
gets kind of confusing with all these different mechanisms approximating each other.
It is. The difference for a CRA is that it is the alter ego of the town, meaning you first create the CRA. It's known as an entity, right? And it has certain rights that the city does not have. But you create the entity, but then a CRA has no power to act until a project area is defined in most circumstances. So what the enabling power of the CRA is to create a boundary that the city first agrees upon, and then the other taxing entities who have skin in the game can then, at their own discretion, decide whether or not to share their own tax increment for purposes of the project area. And so I think it's a tool with the development things that you have coming and the interest that you have that you're going to want to create, and just have it in your back pocket to do that. It can interact well with a PID, for example. A PID's debts are not debts of the town. You have no enforcement remedies or anything else. And so instead of being an issuer of bonds, instead of the CRA, it does have power to issue bonds, and it may make sense to do that. But alternatively, you could also send your revenues to the PID and have it be the issuer of bonds to remove any debts or obligations of the city. You just pay the increment should it be available, and the PID pledges that should you elect to want them to. So I'm probably getting lost too much in the weeds. There's a host of possibilities of how CRAs can interact, but I think in talking with Jan, the creation of a CRA may be relevant and good timing to help twofold: attract development by giving the tool between the school district, the county, yourselves to volunteer or share any increment. You could also pledge. This was what I recommended to Jan as well, is you could pledge the MIDA revenue that you have, which essentially is kind of a form of TIF, to a bond of the CRA. And then the CRA could magnify that with its own TIF, or a PID could magnify it with tax, with the consent of the property owner. So I think that's what Jan most wanted me to talk about, was the ability to create a CRA, the advantages it could have in your financing activities, and how it could interplay with PIDs or even the MIDA money you already have.
Hey, Randy, it's Ralph. I know Ralph Severini. How are you? I know we've
Good.
talked a number of, thanks for joining. So I know we've talked about a couple of those things. I don't think we've talked about the CRA in some of our side discussions, but what's the benefit of using the CRA in the MIDA sense versus just working with MIDA directly? What is that, an insulator, so to speak, and facilitator at the same time? Give us a little bit more background into that.
Yeah, good question. Let me try to give a couple or at least one example to probe from there. It's more of a facilitator than it is an insulator, right? Because the city retains total control over the CRA, and therefore it facilitates. A CRA has more flexibility. Let's give an example. Let's say that you had a project as a town council you were really excited about, and you wanted to maybe acquire some ground or pay for some public improvements, or even help with vertical infrastructure. As a city, you've got a lending of credit issue, which is a constitutional thing, that the city is not entitled to lend its credit, if you will, towards private development. That's a general constitutional principle. A CRA is a bit of an exception to that, right? In other words, you don't create a CRA for one particular private entity. You say, as a town, we are interested in economic development that looks like X within this area that we call a project area. Once you go through that process and then you obtain the consent of other taxing entities, that CRA can now incentivize, even help pay for things that might benefit these entities that fit within your desired development, which is something the city could not do by itself. So the legislature intentionally created CRAs to enhance development activities that the city couldn't otherwise do, because you couldn't just sell your water treatment plant or water rights at a reduced rate to aid development. Neither can a CRA, for that matter. But you could use revenues that belong to you, pledge them to your CRA, and then have the CRA use those revenues in a way to enhance development and even incentivize a development in a way that you couldn't on your own. Kind of
And
repeat it
pledge,
myself.
and
That
pledge
helpful?
that towards a bond,
Yeah.
as well as
Yeah.
combining MIDA funds to that pledge, so to speak?
Or some portion of the MIDA bonds, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, it wouldn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe it's a percentage. You look at the tax increment. I mean, there's always a lot of negotiations, as you are keenly aware of. I mean, there's nothing that makes a school district have to participate in tax increment. They're going to want to be convinced of the benefits of their way for giving up increased taxes over time. How does it help them overall? But you can now chase those kinds of commitments at their discretion that you couldn't otherwise do as a city. You couldn't ask a school district to share its taxes, you know, to the city for a public improvement. You'd have to create the CRA, justify your project area under economic development, and then make that request.
And are the governing principles mandated by the state? How does that what's
Statute?
Statute.
Yeah. There's a really clear statute. It gets tweaked quite regularly in our legislative updates every year, and keeping track of all the things that affect local governments. That's a hot topic almost every year for some little tweak by the legislature in some other area. But yes, it's a robust section of the code that defines how CRAs can operate.
Hey, one more question here. Any examples that we could read about that other towns, or we could even talk to about their experience, good or bad?
Yeah. I mean, one of the oldest and long-standing CRAs would be Salt Lake City's. You know, they're still called an RDA because that's when they were organized, a redevelopment agency. But they have project areas in particular areas of the city that have aided in affordable housing, theaters, convention centers. They even make loans as they collect those tax increment funds. They make micro loans to certain businesses. I mean, that's built up over a long time, right? To get those kinds of assets to be able to offer those services. Those aren't typically available in your more rural or other areas initially. But that's a spot that regularly does it. Park City has an RDA that regularly assists them in their kinds of developments. Almost every city of a certain size has likely had experience or utilized a CRA.
Thank you.
The nice part is they're not controversial,
Appreciate that. Right?
I mean, in other words, the school district's not going to be upset because you created the agency, the CRA. They have to still consent when, if, how they use any of their property taxes. But you just can't even get there until you have an agency and then create a project area.
So Randy, we have a relatively well-educated council group who have become reasonably familiar in their time in council reading complex documents. Is there a package that we can use?
Yes.
You can reference us to, or send us a link to the code statute, so we can, the team can do some reading on their own and get a sense of.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some things that I can send over. At the point that you say, yeah, we might be interested or want to create a CRA, I would envision that as a joint effort with your city attorney.
Yeah.
In how to create that and offer some documents we have from before and things like that. But I can send some summary materials of a CRA and let you see, peruse those and see if questions come to your mind. I'm jumping ahead. I realize that, but I think you'll find it pretty straightforward that you'll want to do it because you retain control. When you do a PID, you control them by the governing document. But once the governing document is created, they do have their own board.
Right.
Here, that's not the case. You have the ability to maintain total control over what the CRA does. So even if you don't use it initially, you probably will have zero regrets of having created one.
Okay.
Hey, can
Okay.
and with that material, Randy, I know you've done this in the past. Any examples that you can refer us to would be probably useful to make it, a little bit more concrete.
Yeah, I can send you lots. That's a
Appreciate
good point. I mean, I'm in the bond business, so a lot of my examples will be around bonds, but CRAs do not only assist through bonds. They probably more regularly assist just by tax reimbursement agreements. Where you have a private company and you say, we'd like to incentivize you to come here if you build XYZ and you hire XYZ employees. And, then we'll share some portion of your property taxes back to you. We're not going to bond against it. We'll just let you have it as an incentive. And so those kinds of things show up as well. Whereas the things I'll send you will probably be from offering documents around bonds, but I think they'll still help you. I just don't want you to think, oh, CRA means bonds. They're much more broad than just issuing bonds.
Yep.
Okay.
Randy, that leads very well into the next question. We've talked about what we would need to bond on our MITA cash flows, and I wonder if you could present that as a concept to the council.
You bet. Yeah, bonding against the MITA revenues that you have coming to you is something the city could do on its own. So don't let me confuse you about CRA and city. I think the CRA will have more flexibility in how you use those bond proceeds, but nonetheless, let's just limit it to bonding in general, whether it's the city or the RDA. You will be able to bond against those revenues. Well, you want to engage with an investment banker. And Jen, I think you've already talked to Mark a little bit about that. They can tell you rates and terms based upon the projected revenues that are expected to come from MITA. And then there are a host of ways to optimize that. You can borrow. The capacity is one point. How much can we borrow based upon pledging solely our MITA revenues? You may not be as sensitive to rate because you're more interested in capacity. If you're more interested in rate, then coverage. Having the more coverage you have over projected revenues as measured against debt service on the bonds or annual payments on the bonds, the lower your rate will be. As a floor, you will need to be able to cover your proposed debt service at about 1.25 times. That's about as diluted as the investment market will go on that piece. Now, if those ramp up over time, you can do that. You can stagger your debt. You can make increasing payments as vertical infrastructure comes on board. The construction risks around that will also weigh in on rate and terms. But you have the ability without an election to pledge any special revenue source. And the reason behind that is bondholders are limited solely to the revenues that you pledge, right? You don't have to go increase property taxes or pieces like that. So under Supreme Court and rulings and statute and Constitution, limited revenue pledges for bonds are permissible without an election. They're more risky to investors as compared to a GO bond or a general obligation bond that has the property tax backing. But in many cases, depending on coverage, it's not significant in rate or terms. So that is something that is definitely available to you.
Thank you, Randy. And you're right. I have reached out and scheduled a meeting with Zions Bank for the approval of the mayor to do so. And we'll ask other Economic Development Committee members to join me. We're scheduled for the 21st at 4:00, and I will be reaching out to them.
Sounds great. Yeah, and if you don't mind allowing me to be included, I could help guide them through the different vehicles, and then they can put some terms around those things.
Great.
But I think I'm on there. Is that on my calendar? I'm sorry. We'll take care of that offline.
It gets crazy this time of year, doesn't it?
It is. So,
Any other questions for Randy tonight, guys? Again, it's just information at this point to let you know that we're looking at the benefits and risks of doing this as we think about the opportunities for the town in both land masses that some of which the town actually own today, others that we're trying to figure out how we can incent some other kinds of development besides just residential housing. So,
yeah. And Mayor, I would quickly add maybe to just, it's not been asked, but it's probably a good thing for me to point out. You should not feel that inviting me to these meetings or giving information that there's a clock or a bill coming. This is just part of explaining what we do, the tools available to you. Once we have an action plan or things like that, then we'll create an engagement letter. But I don't want you to worry that you're racking up any bill or be fearful of including me on those kinds of meetings or calls, because you're not bearing any expense from us. This is just what we do. So
that's reassuring. Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else for Randy, the sheriff has been able to break out and join us. So we'll pop on back up to item number 2 and welcome Sheriff Rigby. And
thanks, Mayor. Can you see and hear me okay?
We can hear you okay. I got to look at my little pictures to see if I can see you. Yes, there you are.
Well,
Yep.
It's better not to see this mug, but great. Thanks for inviting me to be here this evening. And really, I was hoping that this evening we could talk about any questions that you might have, but I'm also prepared to talk about our service over the last year, the work that we've been doing, some of the reports that we provide and what they might mean, and then just things moving forward. Before I start into anything, are there any questions that anyone would like me to address first?
Well, Sheriff, we did talk a little bit about the renewal contract in the earlier part of the meeting, and one of the comments or a couple of the comments from council was sort of looking for a high-level summary overview, not just of the fact that you're here, but the kinds of things that we're seeing. And as I mentioned when we chatted on the phone a couple of weeks ago, things that the town can be working on to improve, to do our part in improving public safety.
I appreciate that. So when it comes to our quarterly reports, some of the overall things that we're dealing with, a number of alarms. And so whenever there is new growth building that's going on, there's a lot that's got to be worked out with private property. And a lot of people want alarms these days. And so this is just generally one of the things that services that we provide and that we need to provide. And so it's nothing in addition that you are paying for. But just know that, when there's fire alarms or more commonly motion alarms, we're responding quite a bit in Hideout to people's residences to deal with suspicious calls or just with their non-criminal requests, whether they want to know more about what the hunting rights are there or not, how firearms work in a town or a city, the laws surrounding firearms, and just things having to do with their property and their neighbors. And again, that's not anything that is a service that you're paying for, but it is something that that we just do because that we're statutorily required to do that, and that's part of our job.
Is there some public education we should be doing or could be doing to at least help people recognize their responsibilities in case of a false alarm?
I do. I think that
Like calling somebody and saying, "Don't come."
Yeah, yeah. And the way that the ordinance is on that is that if we respond 3 times to a false alarm, then after that, the homeowners will start to be charged. And so so it is in their best interest to let us know that they've had their alarm company call them and that we don't need to respond, so that we can continue to serve in other areas of the county. We could probably talk more about how to do some of those things. We have a service. I don't know if you end up sending out an email or any kind of a regular
We do a newsletter.
correspondence. Yeah. We've used those before. We also have a phone system that's non-emergency. Some people don't like those calls, and so we don't have to do that. But it is another tool that is available to us, especially when people give us their phone numbers and they want the information. Anyway, happy to prepare things to include in your newsletter or anything like that.
Okay.
Besides those things, there's a number of speed enforcement patrols that we do. It's a lot of it ends up being on the main roads, but that's not all of it. We try to spend time in the neighborhoods also. And so I don't know if you have any questions about that, but there's quite a bit of traffic enforcement that we're logging that we're trying to help with.
Yeah, and just for the council's edification, the sheriff's department also helps us with, cars blocking the road, snow removal, helping us with the contractors who are parking on both sides of the road, making it nearly impossible to get through, stuff like that. So they help us to reinforce the message to the development folks that, they need to pay attention to the requirements, because it can result in, costly fines for them.
Yeah, thanks for that. As I'm looking through right now, in the summer months this past year, January, February, March, a lot of parking problems, a lot of impounds that we ended up doing. We tried to get hold of vehicle owners before we cite them or tow their vehicles. But if it just is impossible, we know they're inside the house, they just won't answer. The music's on, there's people that are moving around, they just won't come because the police are there. Then we'll act on that. Or if we've had several instances of their vehicle being parked where it shouldn't, or blocking the snow plows, then we'll just cite them or impound them in those instances. Anyway, a number of calls that have to do with fraud. Those are usually telephone calls. They happen a lot around the holidays. They happen a lot with older folks, and they're targeted. And so whether it has to do with, one of the most recent ones has to do with, hey, your loved one has a warrant for their arrest, and you can pay for that right now by giving us your credit card, and we'll get that all taken care of. And so that, or sometimes they name your grandkids, or your children, and say that they have them on a collect call, and would you like, we can patch them through, but we need you to secure their bail. So there's a number of things like that that have been going around the last few months. But it's not just that, it's individuals that are stealing packages off of doorsteps, and credit card fraud as well. So those are tough things to prosecute, but you have had a number of them in Hideout that we've been working on. Those things are not, they're not contracted hours. That's not something that you're paying for when we investigate those crimes. That's just part of what our job is, what we're required to do. So mostly what we're doing is as part of the contract is patrol and traffic enforcement. And if you have specific things that you want us to pay attention for, then it would fall into that category as well.
I have a question about, hi, this is Chris Beyer, about parking and impound. I think we have a lot of narrow roads. Now it's snowing. We do have a winter parking ordinance that prohibits parking. However, there's still plenty of parked cars. I know that we try not to, we're trying to balance the needs of like construction crews who are at a house and they're just trying to get their jobs done. If they're all parked on the same side of the road, we usually just let them, be there. But if we've got some on both sides of the road, which has happened recently on kind of the main Longview Drive, how are we handling that? And, what can residents do if they encounter that situation?
Yeah, great. So what we've instructed the deputies to do, especially where there's new construction going on, is if we're seeing parking on both sides of the road, to go and make contact with the general, and to ask them to all park on one side of the road. And so if you're seeing that we need to improve in that, or there's a specific area that you want us to pay better attention to, you can get hold of me specifically, and I can give that to you now or later. But if any of the citizens are needing the same, would like the same, then they just need to call our dispatch center. It's 654-1411, and just explaining the situation, the dispatcher will queue into that. We always have a sergeant that's working in patrol that's over our deputies, and the sergeants work to keep everything consistent with the deputies.
Oh, great. That's really helpful.
Well, if any of you, and the mayor does this from time to time, and Jan and others too, if we're noticing that there's damage, sometimes semi trucks can damage a roundabout, or just different things like that, and maybe there's surveillance, or maybe there's not. Your public works has helped us some with that. There's a number of other tools that are available also, besides just having deputies come out and sit there and watch. We can use some other tools also.
Yeah, I've witnessed, well, not witnessed, there's been damage to, what are those power boxes Rocky Mountain Power puts on, truck, a construction vehicle might have backed into it. Maybe you didn't see it, but it's damaged. Those things do happen here for sure.
Yeah, we got to document those. And if we can do something criminal about them, then maybe that's something we want to do. But even if not, we still can do accident reports, property damage reports, which are not even criminal, but allow us to prepare the issue so it can be submitted to people's insurance or what have you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Other questions for the sheriff, counsel?
Just really appreciate working with you on the areas that criminal investigations, things that we should be doing. We have reports that are included that have a lot of information in them, but then not too much, so that you don't feel like we're not keeping certain things private for citizens. But anytime you want us to try to switch up some reports and this would kind of be more helpful, any of those kinds of things are possible. We also have some technology in our vehicles that we have placed there so that we have what are called boundaries or fences. You've probably or maybe have already heard about them, but it logs the time. And so that's how we know how specifically when we're in the area and when we're not. So it's not just off of a deputy's handwritten log or something like that. And then what we're doing is we're going into the law incident cases, which are the criminal cases that we're responsible for, regardless of whether we have an agreement or not. And we log those times, and so we subtract them out. And that's how we know how much time we're actually providing for you in the areas that you would like us to. So if anyone wants to go on ride-alongs, if anyone wants to talk more about reports, any of those kinds of things, very happy to work through those things as well.
Thank you, Sheriff. And counsel, as I mentioned, we're scheduled with the sheriff's office once a quarter for a brief update, similar to what we've done tonight, just to keep us all in the loop and see if there's anything new we need to pay attention to, or if we have an opportunity to raise any issues that we want to.
Thanks to Alicia and Jan, we've worked with her in the last few months, and the mayor. So if we can do anything, I'm happy to give you my cell phone, my email, any of those things. We want to be responsive.
So thank you, Sheriff. I've got that, and I'll try not to give it out any holiday parties.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much for time.
Thanks for joining. Okay, let's move on. Next item is item 6. Tim, you want to just briefly take the council through this? We have a fee and rate schedule for a variety of things, and we've discovered that we have people who are asking us to come do inspection work when it's really not ready for inspection work, and it's a waste of our staff's time. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and Council. Thanks for considering this update. Like Mayor said, we get about 3,000. Kathleen looked for us. We had about 3,000 inspection requests so far last year, and we're probably on the failure rate of around about 10%, just maybe a little over. So. For whatever reason, they don't have, and mostly it's our building permits. And so we go out there multiple times for items that haven't been corrected. And it's causing a lot of time and resources from our staff to continue to go out there to inspect. So this approval is to update our fee and rate schedule for if they fail and they call us back out, we are going to charge them a rate that will make it to be kind of this is what it's going to cost for us to come back out to reinspect. And so hopefully it'll cut down a lot of our requests for reinspection over and over on the same things. Most towns have this same reinspection fee. I worked together with Paula yesterday, And we checked Heber and we checked Park City, and so our fee is reflective on both of those communities in regards to cost. So that's kind of why we're doing it. And thank you for your consideration. And I'm available for any questions that anybody may have.
Well, Tim, I think you said 10%, but I think when you looked at it earlier, I think it's closer to 20%, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of them are, a lot of them are in that 10 to 20. I kind of got looking at a little bit closer today after we talked, Mayor, after our meeting, and the 10% is kind of 10 to 11% is kind of on our contractor side. The 20% we're kind of hitting a lot of our residential building permit side, where they'll call for a footing and foundation, or they get a partial, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where we're getting that high number in that 20 range. On the construction side, we're definitely in that 10% range for sure.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies. So we want to make sure that our folks that are calling for our services are really ready for our services, and unfortunately, I think the way to do that is to ensure that they understand that there's a penalty if they ask us to come out and they're not ready. I mean, they're asking for us to come out and give us an opinion. It's one thing, but when they're scheduling an inspection, we have to get the right person out there, and they could be doing other work instead. So.
And to be clear, Mayor, it's not really a penalty. It's just recouping the costs that the town has.
You're right, Polly. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. We're not fining you because you're in violation. We're simply asking you to cover the cost of the vehicles, the gasoline, the inspectors, et cetera, that have to go there. Any questions from council?
It just looks like the reinspection fee has been added in each of the sections for $370. Is that what we're looking at?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's the price of an initial inspection as well.
Okay, that was going to be my other question. So yeah, I don't see any problem with it. I think it's a good idea. We need to make sure we're covering our costs and that we're encouraging the correct behaviors.
Exactly. If there are no other questions from council, then I'm looking for a motion to adopt the change of the town of Hideout fee and rate schedule as described this evening to include in reinspection fees.
So moved. This is Chris.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ralph. Okay, Sherry?
I will reluctantly vote yes. I just hope my builder's not one of the ones calling for inspections without needing them.
Carol?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Ralph?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Thank you all. Appreciate that. Okay. So item 7 is consideration and adopting a resolution to update our electronic meeting policy. That is required to be done annually. I think that's right, Polly. And so
actually the policy doesn't have to be done annually. It's just that the one we had was extremely old and it needed to be updated based on state law requirements as well as technology. The old one was about conference calls. So
that's true. Yeah. Now we're into videos and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So this meets the state code requirements, and It allows for electronic meetings. A quorum can be found by using electronic meeting. And it's pretty self-explanatory.
Polly, in the last item, voting. Except for a unanimous vote, you can tell me what that means. A public body that's conducting an electronic meeting shall take all votes by roll call.
That is state law required. And the idea is that if you don't unanimous, obviously, it's if you all vote one direction or the other. And if you don't, you guys almost always do a roll call vote anyway, but you actually don't always, you do it sometimes when it's not required by law, but there's nothing that says you can't. But so if you disagreed, for example, on if one person votes nay, then you want to make sure you do a roll call vote. It's just, I think, to make clear so that, you know, if you're all in person and one person says nay, it's very easy to see who that is. I think it's the intent behind it.
So we can still say all in favor for certain things.
Yeah, and like, for example, even for this, if you all wanted to, if you voted, you know, when it's time to vote, you wouldn't have to do a roll call vote. You could just say all in favor and you would vote. And if one person is different than the others, one council member, then you would do a roll call vote.
Okay,
so
thanks, that helps.
Yeah, that could speed things up then for thanks, Paul. You know, we've been using it for ending the meeting, but because I always know the answer to that one's going to be yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other time you need to do a roll call vote is where budget type requirements. It's where it impacts the money for the town, city.
Okay.
So
I have a quick question. I think that ordinances, you're also required to do a roll call vote, if I'm not mistaken. No? Okay.
no, yeah, it's just monetary from what I've seen.
You're
I'll double
required
check
to
it.
you're required to record it as individual yeses, but I don't think you have to take them as individual yeses.
Right, that's exactly right, is that you have to now, as of 2022, in the minutes, record what each person's vote is. Even if it's unanimous and everyone is aye, you still have to record what each individual did, but it doesn't have to be voted in that way.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Thanks for asking, Alicia, since you're the one taking the minutes. Okay, if we're all good, I would like a motion to adopt the resolution for participation, for participation in electronic meetings as described tonight.
So moved. This is Sherry.
Thank you. Someone want to second that?
I'll second. This is Carol.
Carol? Okay. And let's run the test. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Do you have to ask if anybody's opposed, or do you just say all in favor?
I was going to say it probably doesn't hurt to just make sure nobody's, that you didn't miss
All in
somebody.
favor, I
there.
heard the ayes. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Resolution passes. Thank you. That's good news. We're doing some administrative paperwork here tonight in case you guys haven't noticed. The next one is for an ordinance setting our town council regular meetings for 2023. We've done this each year so far that I've been in office, and unless someone has an issue, we've got all Thursdays except the one in November of next year, because we will be closed, the town will be closed on November 9th.
I think it's been working. We should keep it going.
Yeah, it's what we all know. It's the second Thursday of every month. So again, if there are no questions or concerns, I need a motion to adopt an ordinance establishing a 2023 regular meeting schedule for the meetings of the Town Council of Hideout, Utah.
I'll move. This is Carol.
Thank you, Carol. And a second.
A second. Yeah.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed, carries, and the ordinance is adopted. And then one more. And this is a new one for us, but we have been historically following the state holiday schedule. But because we're a 4-day week municipality, sometimes those holidays that people are entitled to fall on a day that is an off day for the staff. Amazingly, we don't have any Friday holidays this year, but that's why we're doing that in case we had to modify. So I think we did like a Veterans Day in November, where because that's the actual date. I think what I'd like to see us do on this sheet, Alicia, is show the date that the state holiday is, so we can compare it to, you know, our observed day.
I think that's the farthest left column.
No, those, because they're showing holidays on a Saturday.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay,
That's not the date the state observes. The date observes either the Friday or the Monday.
I understand what you mean. Okay, I can add
So
that.
anyway, you
column.
can look at this and basically the ones that are on a Thursday. So we've got Thanksgiving, and Veterans Day, which are work days for us, but so there's really no Friday days. We're just moving the council meeting next year because so that we don't have a council on a Thursday. That's really the only thing.
So typically, if a holiday falls on a Saturday, the state will observe it on Friday, which means there are some issues on this.
Right. So that's all, but you guys can figure it out. You're smart enough to know what to do here. So this is just, it's not a resolution or anything else. We just want alignment that you're all comfortable with the holiday schedule. I don't think it's a resolution, is it?
No,
No.
doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the holiday schedule. It makes sense. I looked up Veterans Day and it's Saturday, November 11th, 2023, which is observed on Friday the 10th, but Friday the 10th is not a normal work day. So your guys are going to observe it on Thursday the 9th.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move the council meeting to Wednesday the 8th. It's a lot of juggling, but for Veterans Day, but it makes total sense.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Any other comments on the holiday schedule? Okay. Item 10, and the last one other than minutes, is we have historically each year done a council work session type of thing to look at what we've accomplished in the prior calendar year and set goals for the coming year. And that would be different at a different time. And than our standard council meetings. So wanted to get your thoughts on whether you're willing to do that. Would you like to do that? Are you willing to do that in person? If you have concerns about that, or we want to do a hybrid meeting, if some want to attend in person and others join by Zoom or other mechanism, Teams, etc.
Are you asking for input?
Yeah, I'm asking for input. If you're up for that, would you be willing to do that? And if so, can we think about a date to do that?
I'd like to just suggest that we meet in person. I may be the only one that feels that way, but I just feel like we need to get together as a group. So
I support that as well, Carol. It's been quite a while since we've been in a room together.
Right.
Like 3 years.
Right. I mean, since I've been on council. So.
I mean, so, but again, if you've got personal concerns, I respect that. And if you want to join, electronically, we could make that happen too.
I think it'd be great to get together in person.
Yeah, same here. I'm already going to conferences and lots of group meetings, so.
Okay, so you can't come to ours then.
Yeah, I think we're past the point of no return here.
Yeah, I think we are.
Some extent.
I do think we are. I can't argue with that.
It would be nice if we could schedule a day, say at University Park Hotel or some other conference venue where we could just focus and do a corporate type retreat.
Is this going to involve like taking a day off of work?
Unless we work on the weekend.
Do you want it to, Chris?
Kinda, yeah. I'm actually okay with that. I just trying to understand, is this like a full day where we drive somewhere, hang out?
It could be. I mean, it could be, 2 hours, it could be a full day. I mean, there's a lot of things. We have a quorum. It would be streamed. Whatever we do, it would be streamed on YouTube or whatever. Even if it's just voice and not video, but because we'd have either that, we have to get a Zoom someplace that had a Zoom room or something equivalent. But we wouldn't take comments or anything like that. But the public has a right to listen when we're all together, and likely would include some of the key staff members as well.
What's our budget on this? I've done some meetings for my business for AWS, Amazon, at Stein Erickson. It's a great place. The
Our budget is not Stein Erickson.
That sounds fun.
Got a great view.
Ralph.
No, Ralph, our budget is the fire station town hall type of budget.
So no spa
That's
appointment.
no fun.
It would be nice if we could get away from the town so we aren't distracted. And down the hill, I say, is more economical than our own community. But of course, it does require a budget.
That way, down which hill? You mean to Heber
Heber.
or to Salt Lake?
Heber.
Oh, when I say down the hill, I mean go to Salt Lake.
Oh, do you think we could find a place in Heber that would be more economical?
Yes.
I think, oh, sorry, Jan.
Oh, I think we could reach out to Midway Mayor and see what we can accomplish there.
Yeah, maybe so.
And I think the Black Rock Hotel has some conference rooms too.
It does. It does.
And there's a beautiful boardroom over at the Marriott that I've used as well. The one next to the golf course.
I'll look at some venues if you're.
Yeah, and actually not very expensive there. Obviously Stein Erickson's expensive.
Well, if you're picking up the bill, Ralph, we'll find a way.
I might be able to now.
Yeah. So I'd be in favor of in person. I would just need a little bit of lead time knowing when that is.
Well, that's what we're looking is for what works for you all is Monday through Friday preferred. Do you want to, I mean, I know weekends are particularly those of you who work, weekends are important to your sanity as a person who spent a lot of time in the working world. You need a break, and I worked enough weekends to know that it's not the right thing to be asking you to do. So
Unless you guys want to meet, on skis or snowboard, then we can do the weekend. But no, I think we should try a weekday if we can make it work. And
the thing we could do, Chris, is say do an afternoon and then follow up with a dinner or something. And that way you wouldn't have to miss a whole day.
And that works. That works for me.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And Ralph, you as well. I know you two.
Yeah. I mean, my schedule, I don't know about Chris's, but Fridays is usually an easiest day of the week to take off, simply because usually you have the least number of meetings. So at least for me anyway. And then you roll into the weekend. So that's kind of what I'd lobby for.
Well, if we have a no meeting policy on Fridays, but that's when you get all the work done. So I'm okay missing some meetings, but that's okay. But if that's what you have to do, Ralph, I mean, we can.
Well,
try to come.
you two, Sherry works as well. Carol, I'm not. Carol has 8,000 commitments. I don't know. So you all, if you would just submit a preferred day of the week. If there are a couple of days of the week, we could start with that. If you're flexible for any of them, tell us. And then as we start to explore venues, we'll come back with some possible dates.
Are we looking at any particular month?
How about January? How about Friday at noon in January, and then we go to dinner that evening with spouses?
The only thing that I have a problem with in January is I do Sundance. I volunteer for Sundance. I don't have a schedule yet. And
Sundance is
January 19th.
the 19th to the 19th to the 29th.
Right.
And I mean, January is
good in the first couple weeks.
It's
I was thinking 6.
Yeah, probably for me too.
I could make it work the week of the 9th later in the week.
Should we do this? Should we do this via like email, or are we going to try to set a date right now?
I'll send around an email.
Okay.
That'd be good, Jan. Okay, we'll give you some possible dates.
Jan, I'll send you the dates I can't do it. I already have some commitments.
Okay. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Send the dates we cannot do it.
Yeah, well, we'll send you, Jan, everything that we can't do, and then you'll try and find something.
Can we do January and February dates that we can't do?
Yes. Yeah, because I could see this rolling into February.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. I'm glad that you're willing to do that. We also need to do some prep work, and it is the holiday season, so I don't want to do it too quickly after the first of the year, Jan, just because we're all trying to get stuff finished up and organized for the holiday portion of the month. So I'll need a little time to get some thoughts together before the meeting. So
I can actually see us going past Sundance and Super Bowl and doing it after that, possibly.
Yeah, let's not do it on Super Bowl Monday anyway. Depending on who's in there, or I may not be watching at all. But anyway, all right.
Or maybe
item
that's
6.
a good day.
Yeah. Approval of council minutes. So first of all, I want to start by saying kudos to Alicia for getting us to within basically 45 days of caught up.
Yeah.
Great job, Alicia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll keep them caught up. That's my goal next year.
She's been working really hard at this. And she hopes that we don't have any more difficult and convoluted meetings that require 4 hours.
And what's amazing is the minutes quality has just stayed at excellent all the way through.
Yeah. So we're going to look at 4 sets of minutes. And then we'll vote on all 4 at once. If that suits you all, as opposed to going through the process for each set. So the first one is the Truth in Taxation and Budget Adoption hearing on August 11th. I think I'll just start with Carol.
You know, I'm going to tell you that I only have follow-up questions for the follow-up part. The only thing that I had a correction on was September's minutes. And I had one insertion on October's, and that was it. I mean, otherwise they were perfect, Alicia. So, because I go over them with a fine-tooth comb.
I do. My heart just exploded. Thank you.
They look great.
Thank you.
So there's only one thing in September that I have a question about.
Okay, well, we get to September, you can help us with that.
Okay.
All right, so this is August 11th. I had no issues personally with this one. Other comments on the Truth and Taxation section? Okay, that's a pretty short and easy one. Next one is the Town Council of August 11th. That was a little bit more convoluted than the first one.
And Mayor, sorry to interrupt. Does the council want me to stay on for the updates, or are you guys okay?
No,
if
it's
I hop
fine,
off?
Polly. We're good. You can
Okay.
you can get
Let's
some
see.
sleep.
Okay. Take
All
care.
right.
Have a great
Oh, and Polly,
holiday season. Yep.
if you don't mind, I don't know, did you send a attorney-client update, or do we need to have? Is there anything new that
Oh,
needs to share? I don't want to-
I'll make
I don't-
sure one goes out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. That'd be great.
Okay. Thanks. Good night. Okay.
Hi, Polly.
Hi,
Good
Polly.
night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy holidays. We'll see you back in Park City on Christmas Day.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So we're back on August 11th. Again, I think we did a good job here. Alicia, you have a highlighted yellow item here. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, thank you for noticing that. Chris, I had emailed you about that. I was not sure if that was the right, and maybe Thomas could answer that question.
It's not the Wasatch Trails Foundation that Thomas sent the GIS map to. Thomas, you sent that to
I sent that to Wasatch County.
yes.
Wasatch County.
Yeah, let me-
Okay. Like, do you have a specific person?
Yes, I can get that person's. Well,
I just hate to be so
I think I sent it
vague.
to 2 people. One was Ivan, the GIS
Okay.
coordinator with Wasatch County, and then give me 1 second. There was a second person I sent it to, so bear with me for 1 second. I'm searching my email.
You could probably just email it to me when you get that. Yeah,
Maybe
it wasn't really said in the meeting.
other 2 meetings. Just give me
Yeah.
1 second.
Okay. Well, it's a true statement that he sent it to Wasatch County because that's Ivan.
Yeah. Okay. If that's the only question on that one, we'll move to September 8th.
Okay, do you want me to direct you to where I saw a correction?
Sure.
Okay, it is now, Again, I'm gonna go say page 94. But I don't know if you want me to say page 6 of 11. Which would
I
you?
want you to page 6 of 11 because you're on the wrong, because you're on the wrong package if you're saying page 94.
Oh,
Because there was a new package issued quite late today.
oh, okay. I've been gone all day.
So we'll go to page 6 of 11.
Okay, yeah, but it was page 6 of 11.
And what line number?
Oh, it was line number 4 and 5.
Okay.
But I don't know, yeah, with something new, it may not be what I'm thinking it is.
No, this hasn't changed.
Oh, okay,
Just that there were different additional pages put in.
okay.
So 4 and 5 are, I think, would be the same thing.
Oh, right, okay. It starting with Councilmember Bear asked what the parking plan was not only hotel guests, but convention center attendees or visitors. Okay, I guess. I had just rephrased. I thought it was awkward, but it looks like it's been corrected. What I had put down was, she asked, or Councilmember Bear asked if the parking plan was for both hotel guests and convention center attendees and visitors. It was kind of how I read it. I thought it was confusing the way I read it, but
Your way makes sense too. I think mine is just more kind of on the negative side and yours is more positive. So I'm fine with changing that.
okay. Right.
Yeah, if you don't, then I would say for not only hotel guests, but also convention center attendees
Right.
or visitors.
Yeah, I said both, but also hotel guests and convention center.
Hey, look, I might have said it in that convoluted way that was captured in the minutes. So, I mean, that might be actually more factually accurate.
Yeah, it's possible. We sometimes.
Yeah, it was just when I read it, I had to read it like 3 times that I think I'm going to rephrase that.
I'm fine with rephrasing that. It was probably my mush brain at that point that.
Okay. Any other comments on September's minutes? I will mention the September minutes, we talked about the water situation. I was planning to put it on for tonight, but we have a meeting with JSSD on next Tuesday. And after that, I'll be prepared to share where we are, because we're trying to get a few more clarifications. And so January, we'll have the water update on the agenda.
Okay.
Because the way we do our math and the way JSD do their math doesn't quite add up. And so we got to sort that out. And that's what next Tuesday's meeting is about. Okay, if nothing else in September, we'll look at October 13th.
Okay, I had just a couple on the 13th.
Okay.
Page 4 of 10. And it was line 33. And was concerned of the lighting. I thought it should read about the lighting. She was concerned about the lighting.
Okay.
And then page 7 of 10. And it was line 31. And isn't it Sky Ridge instead of Sky Bridge?
It is.
It is. Good catch.
Okay, that's it. I was done.
Good job.
It is Ridge, not Sky Bridge. But if we get another one to build, maybe we'll call it Sky Bridge just to add to the confusion.
Right. So can you give us an update, or does anybody have an update on what they're doing down at Ross Creek?
Chris can probably talk to that because she met with the.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the committee.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, are you talking about, I'm sorry, this is Tim. Are you talking about the pipes that just got laid out?
No, we're talking about the big project they're doing down there at the state park.
Okay,
Right.
no worries. Sorry about that, Mayor.
But yeah, if you go into the Ross Creek entrance, you'll notice pipe along the side. That's Hideout pipe for our sewer lift station, the new sewer lift station that's going to be installed.
So Hideout's working on the road as well as
Yeah, we're not working in the state park, but we are working. But the road is ours until you get to the state park entrance.
right. Okay.
All right. So before we go to that, then I'll need to ask for a motion to approve the council minutes of August 11th, both sessions, September 8th and October 13th.
Okay, I move we approve them as amended.
Thank you.
That's correct.
As amended. Thank you. Yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sherry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Alicia. Okay. Next item is follow-up of items related to council minutes. I covered one. Are there others that people want to know where we are on? Is that a sentence?
I had a few, I usually
ahead,
jump over. And also, Alicia, I thought, the putting everything into a spreadsheet, kudos again for all the work you're doing. Terrific stuff. I think that's exactly what we need or something like that. We could get out of the spreadsheet world, but it sure works to track, action items here and follow up. So thanks again. Very well done.
Oh, you bet. I'm glad you were able to get into it. Let me know if anybody else has problems getting into it, or if you want it in a different format. It's a work in progress. So.
Okay, I couldn't get into it. This is
Okay.
Carol.
Okay.
So.
So
Go ahead, Ralph. You said you had some.
I'll vocalize my 3 items very, very quickly. August 11th, page 3. That's on the regular minutes. Did we resolve the open lot scenario? So that was one. And then I think on page 7 of the August 11th regular, we were supposed to talking about water. We were supposed to get some additional data at some point on water consumption per house.
We do have good data on that. But again,
sounds like you're going to be talking about this in an upcoming
the
meeting.
Water consumption data is separate from the water availability data, which is what I'm working on with GSSD. But we do have a report on the water consumption, which I'll also cover because I would be making a recommendation associated with that. But yeah, let's see. So, but August 11th, what was the first one there, Ralph? I'm sorry.
Oh, that was there was an open lot situation, and we were looking at resolving that at a future time, and that was more on the land use kind of scenario. Page 3, line 25, and then page 7 on the water consumption. I can't remember what line that was, but that's pretty straightforward.
Oh, I see. Oh, where the bike path is.
Yeah. I don't know if we ever resolved
Thomas,
that.
did you get a chance to look at that?
I have not yet, but I have that on my list to do.
Okay.
Could I interject here? Is that the same thing as the corridor agreement?
No.
Okay, because we were supposed to get a copy of that.
Okay. Alicia, would you make a note to get that issued? It should be in the file. If not, I can get it for you.
Yep, I will get that out.
And my third one, Mayor, was September 8th, page 7, line 15. We were going to look into, and I think this was a bit of what you were talking about as well. We're going to look into what latitude we have in creating our own definition around nightly rentals. I think we reorientated the zoning to use 30 days, but I think we're going to look into see if we could have some variation to that.
That's a really good question. Polly was going to do that. Alicia she's gone now, but can you make a note to flag Alicia, flag Polly on that one?
You bet.
So.
You
those
think of
are-
all the complications that could create though, because state law comes down in a certain format, and to the extent we have to reinterpret everything according to an individual standard may be more than practicable.
Well, that's what Holly's going to help us with, I think, Jan, is understanding the pros and cons if we were to do that.
Yeah, so it would be useful at least to get a baseline of what we can do, what we can't do. And to Jan's point is, is the level of difficulty too hard?
Yeah, is the view worth the climb? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if, maybe next meeting, because I think nightly rentals are an issue we're going to just run into in whatever direction we go, particularly if,
Oh, yeah.
through all the additional things we're talking about around annexation, et cetera.
Exactly.
Mayor, just real quickly on that prior item with regard to Carol Tomas and the bike path, it is worth catching you guys up that I did have an initial conversation with her and with Nate and the owners of the house that she referenced. Could it be moved to another location? Initially, there was no interest by Nate and his partners to move it, although I am going to be touching base with them again on a different opportunity. But right now, it's still being proposed to be built where it was platted.
Okay. I'm also denied access to the Google Sheet, so if that makes you feel better, Carol. It's not just you.
Okay.
Apparently, Alicia only wants certain people to look at it. And Ralph and Carol and I are not the right ones, but that's okay.
Maybe she wanted me to look at it first.
We'll get over it. We'll get over it.
I got it. Thank you, Alicia. It looks great.
Got my feelings hurt, but I'll survive.
I really want to see it too.
I'll work with you, Carol, or I'll do something. I'll think of something else so that we can all access it.
Okay. Any other questions on the updates? All right, let's try and do a quick updates here and see if we can't get out of here. I won't say before 8:30 because I don't think it's possible, but 8:45 anyway. Could be a new record. Sherry, anything to talk about?
Sure. Hi, greetings from Florida, where it's nice and warm. We actually just had a meeting last week of the committee, just brainstorming session to come up with ideas for next year. Came up with some really creative ideas. We'll probably talk about that more at the next meeting once we've sort of finalized some dates and thoughts on those. We talked about doing maybe a great fundraiser event. I have someone working on additional grants to raise more money because Rocky Mountain Power gave us a lot of money for community events, and we're hoping some other people will as well. And then we're also, I guess the main thing for the most recent, it would be a winter event. I'm trying to work with Chris to come up with a fun either snowshoeing, cross-country skiing event on the state park trails once they have those groomed. I know she'll talk more about that, but we thought maybe hot chocolate in the parking lot and get a group of people together to utilize those trails would be a fun winter event. Since we don't have a venue for a winter event, we have to come up with some outdoor activities. That's about all for now. More next month.
So, Sherry, one comment. The team put together some Hideout swag, t-shirts, hats, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And it's pretty popular, at least it seems to have been. But
Yep.
I don't think we've done a great job communicating that it's available, and I don't know if we're ordering more because we're down to only a few sizes.
We can order more. Certainly can order more. Maybe we should, I don't know if we'll get them in time before the holidays for holiday gifting, but let me look into ordering some more. And we can, I'll ask Carol to add it to the next newsletter for people to know that they're at the town hall. They can come and buy them.
Yep, that would be great.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you. Anything else for sharing? Okay, Chris.
Thanks for the Parks, Open Space and Trails Committee. Sherry, thanks for inviting us, a couple of us, to myself and Kathleen to come to your meeting on December 1st, but we were at the Planning Commission meeting that
Yes,
night.
poor
So,
planning on my part, sorry.
well, you know who knew, but your meeting sounded like a lot of fun. So just a quick update. The post committee did not meet. I was on vacation and other people had some conflicts. So we didn't meet this month, but Kathleen was in touch with Jason Whitaker, who's the park manager at Jordanelle State Park. Jason confirmed that the construction project has begun at Ross Creek. And if you all don't know what that is, there's a day use area that is under construction. So the area is now closed to visitors. So the perimeter trail is open, but it can only be accessed through the Rock Cliff Trailhead. So that's around, through, if you drive through Francis and head around, near whatever direction that is, east. You can go in that side, or you can go to Hailstone, and that's the main area off of US 40. As soon as there are 12 inches of snow in the perimeter trail, Jason is going to, he has an appointment for a groomer to be delivered for a demo. He said if all goes well, they will be grooming the trail by January. So that's the perimeter trail, but you can't access it from the Hideout side because of construction.
They did do a trial groom, Chris, because I was down there today and it's been groomed.
Okay, great. His answer to about grooming the Ross Creek area is definitely next year. Definitely try for next year, because Kathleen had, at our request, had asked him about grooming the single track that's in Ross Creek as well. And so we're looking at potentially next year for that. Anyway, that's the only update I have because we didn't meet. And yeah, that's it. Any questions? All right. Well, at the end of this project that they're doing at Ross Creek, it should look very different over there.
I think Carol asked, do you know what it is that they're doing down there?
Well, I attended a couple of public meetings about it. So yeah, they're building a day use area. So it's kind of a little bit of a half circle drive that they're putting in. So think about at the end of, if you drove all the way down the pavement to the
Yeah.
farthest parking lot by the boat ramp. They're going to put a circular drive that then loops around and comes back about halfway down the road and reconnects with the main road. And then they have a day use area. So I think there are little pavilions.
So it'll be like Deer Creek or Rock Cliff.
Yes.
Some of those places where there's like some picnic spots and stuff like that.
Exactly. That's what they're building.
Nice.
I think they might be doing other modernization down there. I don't know if they're extending the boat launch. Because it's way too short.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's actually part of this particular project. I don't know if they're funded for that or not. I guess I can find out.
Thanks, Chris.
They should have extended it when we're at our lowest drought level, right?
Right.
Hopefully we're going to have a nice full reservoir at the end of this winter.
I am counting on MIDA to ensure that reservoir stays fuller than we've seen it, because they're getting people to buy houses on a mud puddle otherwise.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Carol, I saw the schedule. It's in the news today. They got the whole silver thing figured out.
Right. The only change from what I had reported before was they're starting at 5:45, I think, in the morning instead of 6.
Yeah, and there's one extra stop as well.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. So, but I do know, I know a couple people that are going to be taking it to Deer Valley, and transferring at Old Town Transit Center. And I'm going to take it. It begins this coming Sunday. And I want to take it. I have to go to Dolly's bookstore because I have to use a gift certificate before it expires. And so I thought I would take the bus up and see what it's like. So I'm going to be using that. And then I want to know if Jan is still on.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I did call High Valley Transit. I talked to a gentleman and I forgot to ask his name, but he was in administration. And he said that anything that we request of them has to go through their board.
Right. Okay.
So, and I do have Carolyn's email. So I thought I would try to reach out to her and see if we can still set up a meeting. But he said, pardon?
Is that Caroline Hernandez?
Yeah, Caroline Rodriguez.
Yeah. Okay.
He did say that if we just want to utilize them for one or two things, they will not do that. They will not contract out for individual events. So
I have communication on Richardson Flats too. They have a certain request schedule. So let's coordinate offline on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Give me a call tomorrow. Okay.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Carol.
Thomas, any updates from the DRC?
Just DRC. We met and reviewed Deer Springs phase 2A, 2B, specifically the fourplexes, that kind of row of fourplexes. All of that review is complete. We're still awaiting some final colors and design components, but in terms of footings and foundations, you'll probably see them submit for their building permits this week. And then we will finalize DRC over the next couple, but all of the DRC outstanding issues were really some colors and some materials. And so they were getting anxious to pull their building permits. So they'll pull that somewhat at risk, and then we'll resolve the DRC over the next couple of weeks. So you may see them start as early. By the time they get through review, they'll probably be maybe starting in the ground 3 to 4 weeks out.
Hey, Thomas, did you discuss lighting with anybody yet through the DRC?
We have talked about lighting. We're waiting on final lighting fixtures, some colors, some materials that needed to be tweaked. Things like that are the final components. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering how the new dark skies ordinance is going over.
Yeah, and Go ahead, Thomas.
Nobody's complained about it. And as long as they know upfront, it's really easy. And, quite frankly, most lighting manufacturers are leaning toward dark skies anyway. It's starting to become much more common.
Yep. And Thomas, Chris and council, me and Thomas has worked together, and Mayor's seen our new lights that we're ordering, or having our developers put in. It's basically the same lights that you kind of see in Heber and along Jordanelle Parkway. So that's the same manufacturer. So our developers will start to be putting those in future phases throughout town.
Great, thank you.
Nice lighting.
So I actually had a conversation with Will Pratt about the DRC in, of all places, the grocery store. Thomas, let's you and I catch up on the issues, and I think it's an opportunity for positive collaboration.
Definitely, yeah.
There's somebody on this team that's got a positive outlook for collaboration with Will Pratt.
We work well with Will, actually.
I know you do. I'm teasing.
Okay.
All right. And I don't believe Donna is on, so we're not going to get a planning commission update.
Hey, Mayor, before we leave this section, can I
Yeah.
make a comment?
Sure.
It's not about the EDC, because I really can't talk about that, but it's about as we go into this new year, I know there's members, we've let the planning commission and other groups, maybe even committees, be populated by potentially folks that have no interest in the town or live out of town. Are we at so it might be just posing a question here. Are we at the point where we have enough folks in town that either through the folks who own property but may not live here, or that live here and are not permanent residents, that we should just be populating our planning commission?
We don't have anyone on the planning commission that isn't a Hideout resident or Hideout landowner.
Okay, I wasn't sure, but we don't have that in our ordinances, or so to speak. So
yeah,
don't know if we need to, but I'd say,
I don't know, Ralph. We can talk to Polly about that. It's a good question, but we also can't have them short, and sometimes it may, depending on the nature, it may be, we bring in outside experts to help us, like we heard earlier tonight from on the CDA or whatever that thing's called, right? So I don't want to limit our ability to get the right people that can help those committees do the right things. Thomas is our planner. He doesn't live in Hideout, and I don't want to lose him.
yeah, I kind of could consider him staff like the other folks, but food for thought, because I think there can be some cross interest on some from what I've seen. So anyway, again.
Well, yeah, but everybody is a landowner. It doesn't mean, people have jobs. I mean, Sherry's in real estate and she's also on the council, but
yeah, but she's a resident. Yeah,
she manages her. Yeah, she manages her her potential conflicts, and that's what we have to watch for. So.
Well, that was my only comment.
Okay, well, we can, I'll make a note to tee it up with Polly. See what other towns do anyway. I'm gonna note out there. All right. As Polly mentioned, she's going to get a note on executive session type items to us. There's Donna. Okay. Hello, Donna. Where'd she go? There she is. Donna, are you there?
I think she's connecting. Give it 1 second.
Oh, there she is. Okay. So Donna, if you want to unmute, you can give us a
I
quick.
think I did. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, perfect. All right, fantastic. Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. As far as the Planning Commission, we talked about the potential annexation of the Benlock Ranch, which is 2,300 acres outside of town, bordering Victory Ranch, and also the annexation of the 10 acres there by Deer Waters and Deer Springs. So we talked about that and those possibilities. And we made many suggestions, and that's a basic nutshell. I'm not sure what else what other questions, if you have any questions going forward, or if you know anything else, or you want me to give you any other more detail, I can.
Thanks. So we talked about Benlock as well earlier in the meeting, so we're pretty good shape on that one.
Okay.
And Mayor and
The
Council,
other
just
one, I'm assuming that's the Tyler, the Frisbee property?
no, actually, it's at Creekside. It's Chris
Creekside.
Ensign's property, the one that he had brought forward about maybe 2.5 years ago, and then he withdrew that application. It's resurfacing.
Oh, the one that's the property that Chris Ensign was trying to represent through
Correct.
Bart Warner?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Yep. It's a 7.5 acres kind of
Yeah,
tucked in the
that's
bottom
that little
side of
notch that's in the bottom of our A at the end of the
Deer
town.
Springs. Yeah.
Right. And what they were planning on, what the developer would like to do is to build 10 single family homes in one area, one section of that, hopefully to protect the wetlands and the sensitive areas in that section there. And we made some recommendations as far as Planning Commission. I recommended decreasing that to 5 or 6 homes. Even I think Glynis said, Commissioner Tyansky, I'm sorry, Commissioner Glynis had suggested maybe 8. So that's where we basically left it off. And also there's a trail that would cut through the road going into this development would cut through a trail. And the developer was very, aware of that. And he said he was willing to work with the town, even possibly build a tunnel. So
I just wanted you to know trails cross roads all the time. So I'm not overly concerned about that, but I am quite concerned about the sensitive lands there. So
yeah.
And the commission, that was a big issue. And we had worked with him even prior to going into that meeting. Some of the slopes, the sensitive lands, the wetlands, the duck ponds, there are a number of issues that are complicating this particular application. Should it come forward? It was reviewed as a potential concept review, just to kind of get a head nod and for him to understand the issues. But there are a number of issues with that landscape, definitely.
Right. And yeah. And, there was, like you said, he kept saying there's going to be plenty of open land. So he seemed like he clustered the homes, all in one small section. And, we were just concerned because they're just going to be kind of cookie cutter. There were some suggestions to alternate the homes and also to decrease them. And studies. Oh, and so Chris also said the studies had been done to preserve the wetlands. So he did say that, but
we'd have to see them, obviously.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Really, all he has to date is kind of the wetlands buffer. I'm not so sure in terms of earth moving, et cetera, that has been resolved. Those are some of the questions that the commission asked him to resolve in terms of slope and slope analysis, environmental analysis, et cetera. He's got a ways to go on that one.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. And so Donna, we had a site visit there, 2 years ago.
And I was there. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And so we've seen it. We're pretty familiar with it. Right. I know Carol was there as well.
Right. Yeah.
And when I was down there, I just was kind of concerned. Like it just seemed like a gully type area, and I just thought it was difficult. I mean, I had a hard time envisioning 10 homes there. I mean, to me, it would just destroy the whole landscape. But that's I guess I shouldn't give am I allowed to give my opinion?
We're not, it's not a council review item at this point. It's a
Right.
planning
Okay.
commission one. And
Right,
so
right.
you guys
Yeah.
are working on that. So keep working on it. And when you think you have something to present, then we'll get involved.
Okay.
Yeah, just, my opinion, I'm not opposed to annexation. I'm just
No.
opposed to the, doing something terrible there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's in it for the town at all.
Yeah.
This one. There doesn't, I mean, unless he's bringing water and some other stuff. I mean, he expects water from the town. He's not getting it.
He
So-
said he had water. Isn't that correct, Thomas? I think he did.
Yeah, he said he either had it or could find it. That
Yeah.
Yeah, so
remains
that's,
to be
those are the
confirmed.
kinds of things we'll have to get into when we get there. But
Right.
so Thomas,
Okay.
did Ty Frisbee ever come back to you?
He and I have been in touch with regard to his property. And remember, his property is currently zoned mountain residential, and he has some interest in getting maybe commercial or maybe storage for a boat and some other things that he would like on that. We are trying to look at that more holistically, to take a look at his property, the town's 2 pieces of property that we own, and how that should all holistically be considered for rezoning before we look at it individually. But he and I are in touch. Yeah.
Okay. But there's nothing ready for anybody to look at yet.
Not yet. No.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you all. If there's no other comments or discussion items, then I would recommend a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. But one thing I wanted to mention earlier, I forgot to say, although we've had a few small complaints, thanks to the road crews for keeping the roads clear. Really appreciate it. Tim, Dan, just super job, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
Here.
Thank you. Yeah, the guys are doing a great job. I can't take any credit at all, but they're doing a great job.
Well, you're going to be driving in a week, so you get
I
credit.
will be. I'll be taking over Dan's shift in the middle of the night, so we'll be okay.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good holiday.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Bye.